Hare Krishna, Namaste, Chapter 18, which is entitled as Sannyasa Yoga. Sloka 49, Part 3. Asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra, jitātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ, naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ, sannyāsenādhigacchati. We learned from the previous session that the Atma Sakshatkara can be obtained by the sequential path of going through Karma Yoga, from Karma Yoga to Jnana Yoga, whereas another path is sticking on to Karma Yoga and attaining the Atma Sakshatkara. We also understood that Krishna is instructing Arjuna to stay in the path of Karma Yoga to attain that Atma Sakshatkara. We also went through the difficulties that's involved in Jnana Yoga. Plus, we learned in the previous session how one can attain Dhyana Nishta by performing Karma Yoga through the Trivida-tyaga. That is, a person engaged in activities thinks he is not the doer, he is not the proprietor, he is not expecting a return from his activities. This is Sattvika-tyaga, which we have learned earlier in this chapter. When a person performs his duty, keeping Trivida-tyaga as a fundamental principle, will gradually be able to attain Dhyana Nishta. What Jnana Yogi does is the same thing, but by not engaging in activities. Then why can't we do Jnana Yoga, which seemed to be easy? Krishna says it is not easy because the senses are always active. Controlling those senses is not an easy task. Therefore, better engage the senses, keeping the principle that I am not the doer, I am not the proprietor, I am not expecting anything out of this. Then why even you do this? I have to do this because this is my duty, this is my dharma, my varna dharma. Now let's continue from where we left at the end of previous session. After one attains the vision of the Atma, there are two paths that one can take. Number one is stay in that stage of Atma Sakshatkara. In other words, just simply be a self-realized person. Number two, proceed further to attain the Bhagavat Sakshatkara, meaning the vision of the Lord. But either cases, if one wants to attain moksha, one has to perform bhakti towards the Lord. That is, one who has attained Atma Sakshatkara, if that person wants to attain moksha, that is, to obtain liberation, one needs to perform bhakti to obtain kaivalya moksha and continues to enjoy his Atma alone. Whereas one is in the path of Bhagavat Sakshatkara, he also performs bhakti to attain moksha, to reach the Supreme Lord. So the eligibility for moksha is Atma, knowledge of Atma, and then which leads to vision of Atma. At that point, one may desire to attain Atma Prapti, or one may desire to attain Bhagavat Prapti. Atma Prapti means where one just simply happy enjoying one's Atma alone. Whereas Bhagavat Prapti is a step further where one enjoys the Lord in his spiritual abode. If one understands that Atma is just Jnanamaya, Anandamaya, Sushma, Anu and Nityam, he will be satisfied with his Atma alone by attaining the Atma Prapti, Kaivalya Moksha. This is closely equivalent to the theory of merging into Brahman, but not exactly the same. Different schools of thought has different opinions, but for our discussion on this topic, a person who had Atma Darshana will just have the understanding that Atma is knowledge, full of bliss, it is subtle, it is minute, and it is eternal. Therefore, he will be satisfied just with his Atma, where he attains moksha to simply enjoy his own self. Whereas the other person, when he understands Atma is Jnanamaya, Atma is Anandamaya, Atma is Sushma, Atma is Anu, Atma is Nitya, plus Atma is Paratantran and Atma is Seshabhuta. When these last two things are added, then that makes a person to be a bhakta. He is interested in the Lord. Therefore, he takes up bhakti yoga to attain the Supreme Lord. In that stage, he understands or comes to a realization that when I am with the Lord, it is sukham. When I am away from the Lord, it is dukkham. This stage is called jnana dasa or parabhakti. When that mood of separation increases, the Lord gives him the darshana just momentarily. That stage is called darshana dasa, also known as darshana samanakara sakshatkara. That is, one will be able to see the Lord as if he is seeing the Lord in person. This stage is also known as parajnana, and then finally parama bhakti, which is known as prapti dasa, that is attaining the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. So, after attaining the vision of Atma, when one takes up the path of bhakti yoga, one starts a feeling of separation. A person feels, a devotee feels sukham when he feels connected to the Lord, dukkham when he is not connected to the Lord. That intense mood will make him eligible to get the darshan of the Lord momentarily, and that increases the intensity of the devotee to wanting to be with the Lord, and finally he attains the Lord. Now, when we compare ourselves in this whole program, we are somewhere lower in this yoga ladder, still trying to get some knowledge about Atma. If we don't know ourselves, who we are, how can we understand who God is? That is why the Atma Jnana is the first lesson that Krishna gave to Arjuna in the second chapter. Without this knowledge, one cannot take up any of the marga, any of the path. With this knowledge, one can choose to take karma yoga as a marga or jnana yoga as another marga. So one can attain dhyana nishta. So we saw we have two choices, karma yoga and jnana yoga, to attain dhyana nishta. The question is, which one to choose, either to go with karma yoga or jnana yoga? The answer is based on two factors. Number one, control of senses. Number two, involvement with public. Control of senses. If one does not have control of senses, the best route is karma yoga. If one got control of senses, then it is jnana yoga which is advised. Based on this, one can decide if it is through karma yoga one wants to obtain dhyana nishta or through jnana yoga to obtain dhyana nishta. The second factor is interest on public, for the welfare of the common people, public. Even if one has the control of senses and eligible to perform jnana yoga, still that person, for the benefit of loka sangraha, common people, it is best that one performs karma yoga. if one has some responsibilities and duties and involvement with the public, the people, then one should stick on to karma yoga to obtain dhyana nishta. If one is not involved in any of these things, doesn't have a lead role or leadership position, then that person who also has a control of senses can take up jnana yoga. One more time, the two paths, karma yoga and jnana yoga, those who has control of senses and does not have anything to do with people in general can take up jnana yoga, whereas those who doesn't have control of senses and who has responsibility, who has a position, a role in society, should continue to perform karma yoga. Why? Otherwise, those who sees the leader, their leader, who has taken up jnana yoga because to eventually attain moksha, they will also be inspired to do the same. But the problem is, they may not be qualified. Just because someone is jumping or able to jump from one end to another end, not everyone can do it. That person has practiced so he can do a high jump. If I simply try to imitate and try to jump, I will break my bones. If Arjuna thinks that he has complete control of the senses, therefore is eligible to perform jnana yoga, then his follower will also take the second part, that my leader has given up everything and taken up jnana yoga, therefore I should follow his footstep. But the problem is, they have not done their homework, therefore they are not eligible to give up their responsibilities. It will be very difficult for them to continue in the path of jnana yoga. They may fall down and come back to square one. And this is what Krishna advised Arjuna in the 3rd chapter, 20th sloka. Loka sangraham evapi sampashyan kartum arhasi. That is, for the welfare of people, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your dharma, that is, perform karma yoga. So the question comes, does it mean karma yoga gives bhakti yoga directly? Answer is no. Does it mean karma yoga gives the vision of Atma directly? Answer is no. Karma yoga simply takes us to the stage of dhyana nishta, and that dhyana nishta gives one Atma sakshatkara, and then one gets to enter into bhakti yoga to attain the Bhagavat sakshatkara. Now, why are we discussing all this in such a detail? Because this is not covered in such a detail in earlier chapter when Krishna explained the same to Arjuna. In the 3rd chapter, Arjuna opened up with an important question. Jayase chit karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tat kim karmani ghore emam niyojayasi Keshava. O Keshava, knowing that this battle is not good, it may entangle me into this world, why are you making me engage in these activities? And Arjuna said, I am confused. My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instruction. You seem to be talking like a common man. You are talking this way and also that way. Please tell me what is beneficial for me. And Krishna in response said, I am not confusing you, Arjuna. You are confused from what I said. I am pretty clear in my statements. There are two paths by which one can attain the same result. One is the path where you perform karma yoga, that leads to jnana yoga, and that leads to dhyana nishta. There's another path which is karma yoga, by itself directly leads to dhyana nishta. This dhyana nishta was not elaborated, explained in earlier chapters, and that is what has been done over here in this chapter, in these sections, to emphasize that dhyana nishta is the stage which is greater than jnana yoga. So now we are in the point where a person has attained the dhyana nishta, either through path 1, which is karma, jnana and then dhyana nishta, or karma yoga and then directly dhyana nishta. With this understanding, now let's learn what Krishna has to say in this sloka in our next session. Namaste, Hare Krishna.